You're listening to Nurture Your Zest. I'm your host, Ashleigh King, and I will introduce you to a wealth of interesting, fascinating individuals from all walks of life who will share their stories, how they've overcome challenges, and you will find out their top tips for success. Through this podcast, you can gain tips to grow and change your life and the way you see the world, and help you to nurture your zest. Hello, good evening. You're listening to Nurture Your Zest. My name's Ashleigh King, and I am the host of this wonderful podcast where I chat to people from all walks of life, from all over the world. And tonight I'm chatting to a wonderful lady from Newcastle whose name is Laura. And I can't wait to introduce you to her because really all we're going to do tonight is just have a goss, which is I think what we all need right now. I'm certainly missing time with girls and hanging out in coffee shops and just enjoying life. So thank you so much for coming and watching with us. If you haven't watched Nurture Your Zest before, or if you haven't listened to us, we've been going since September, and it's a weekly podcast, and it's a brilliant way for us to chat to people about the challenges they've had, how with curiosity, creativity and courage, you can find your inspiration and nurture your zest. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Laura in. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So how are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you, my dear. Have you had a nice day today?
You know, I've got quite a lot of bronzer on today because I was up till 5 a.m. because I was doing uni work and also practicing because I had my first training session with Mint Business Club this morning, which was brilliant. So shout out to all the Minties who made it. It was really fun. And it's so weird training online. You know, it's a different experience. Have you been doing much like that?
Well, today I've had back-to-back meetings all day since about 10 a.m. I've literally just had a quick snack before our chat. But I think when you're online like this, I don't know, I don't really feel like I notice it when I'm meeting people in the flesh. But when I've been online, I really try and do my extra best to be more energetic than when I'm in person. So here in my cheeks are starting to hurt a little bit. I feel like tonight I'm going to come off this live. I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to have the worst face. I'll be like, I just need to rest my muscles.
It's really funny you say that because I make a conscious effort to smile. And one of our guests who's been on the show recently, since we've started going to Facebook Live rather than, you know, in the podcasting studio, taught me a tip, which is to put a big smiley face behind you next to the camera. So you look at the camera and not at. So I'm trying not to look at you, but look at the camera. It's a great marketing tip, or for anyone, you know, working from home and wanting to be that bit more engaging online. So you're not looking
that's
down.
Really clever. I love that idea.
So you look straight at the camera and you're not looking down to see the person, you know, but also you've got a big smiley face. So that keeps me reminded. And I think as well, with us both being in the personal branding space, you know, it's really important that you put out a nice and professional image. And sure, you can talk about the times it's a bit rough and hard, but also that you lift people up. So yeah, smiles all the way. And
yes.
I love online training because you don't have to worry about notes in your hand. Just stick post-its on the top.
Yeah, love that. I'm sitting typing, so I find it more effective if I type notes in my notes app, because that's where like I live most of the day. It goes from notes to Trello, and then it really happens. If I take a notebook, and I'm really bad at doing this from my years of being a student, you just naturally start taking really detailed notes. But then guess what? I shut the notebook and it goes on the shelf and nothing happens.
It's so true. As an MBA student, I have been, when in some of the quieter lockdown times, I'm not quiet at the moment, I've got a lot of work to do, but in some of the quieter times, I've been typing up my notes from the year, and I've gone through 8 notebooks
Wow.
since September, back to back with mind maps and drawings and all kinds of stuff, which has been
But
so fun.
that's going to stand you in really good stead when it comes to trying to quickly find a point that you can remember you need to put in, like a dissertation or a thesis. And it also will really help you with your revision as well, because everything's all neat.
Well, here's hoping. I love drawing big, colourful pictures. It's so funny, actually. There's been a few times at networking events where people have gone, "Oh, hi, Ash. You've. I know this is your notebook because I saw the beautiful mind maps inside." So it's nice to be known for being creative like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And if you can make it an enjoyable thing to look back on, then all the better, right?
Absolutely. So I see we've had some people join us, but I also realized I didn't even introduce you, which is so rude. I've got such a slick routine when I'm in the studio, and now I'm still getting used to Facebook Live. So can I please ask you to introduce yourself?
All right, then let's do the introduction. So, hi everyone, I'm Laura. My business is called Laura Pearman Photography. I shoot career defining headshots for ambitious business owners all over the world when we're not in lockdown. So right now, my business has been massively affected, obviously, with doing one-to-one photography. But over the last couple of years, I've been working away on trying to help people with their self-confidence. So I've now ramped things up with that. That's gone from the back burner to the main thing that I'm doing right now. And it's really exciting. Strangely, even though it's a very risky time, and obviously I've had a big financial hit in my business, I'm really inspired right now. Do you feel the same way, Ashleigh?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because I feel like this has given me a massive shock, and I wonder if it's done the same for you. I'm so glad that you've been planning ahead in this way, for some sort of different income stream. But for me, I have realized, if I'm really honest, I had been treating my business like a hobby, and I think a lot of people do. I was going to all the networking events and working for clients and doing this and doing that, but I was trading a lot of time for money, and sometimes on projects I really didn't want to do. So for me, getting my accounts in order and going, wow, like what can I do? What do I know that people would want to know? And I started to realize the things that people were kind of asking me all the time. I started counting them up or making notes of them and realized that I've got stuff I can piece together and package. So that's been really fun. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm so lit up. I'm on fire at the moment in that way. Maybe, I've got big dreams, but getting there might be a bit tricky. But I do feel that I'm so grateful. It's a horrible thing that's going on, but at the same time, I'm grateful that this has given a lot of people all over the world a shock.
Yeah.
It's been, we can't live as we were, so that's been really interesting. Lots of things, climate change.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was like, whenever I'm feeling really down or a little bit panicky about things, I'm like, right, go and find some facts. Like I found this fact the other night, and we were sitting in bed before we went to sleep, and I said, tell me something good about the world. And the Viking, my partner Tom, he found that the amount of turtles that are successfully breeding, because this is the time where they lay their eggs, they're in like crazy numbers right now around the world. I was like, oh, that's lovely. I went to sleep thinking about turtles and how they're doing really great right now.
That sounds brilliant. I love that. And I'm actually thinking about turtle headshots.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I think that would be super fun. Yes, no, I think you're right. But I think as well, I mean, it leads me on to something I wanted to chat to you about anyway. But another thing is slow fashion. I'm a huge fan of slow fashion. I get most of my clothes from vintage fairs or secondhand or switch parties with friends. So I don't really buy much clothes. And I'm loving as well that, being in lockdown, we're not really, well, I've spent money on business tools and courses and things, but not really, going and buying stuff that you would normally in the shops. So it's
Yeah,
made
like
me
the
much.
quick throwaway top that you might get after you've been at a coffee meeting, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
just that wandering around aimlessly to kill time, you've got a bit of a gap or someone's cancelled or, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, I guess, to consider. But I think you were very smart then, actually, having some forward thinking about planning ahead for something else or trying something different. So obviously you love your photography, you've done it all over the world, and what an honor to go and, you know, get amazing headshots of people, and you know, bring their confidence out and their personality out on a picture. So that's brilliant. But I do wonder, you know, at what point did you think
Okay, so I've got a story for you, right? Are you ready? So I was it maybe 3 years ago. I often go to Social Media Marketing World, which is a big social media event in San Diego, and it was the second year I was going, so 2018, and I did my usual thing of hustling around. So I've got a backstory. I backpacked and I'm addicted to traveling. I really love traveling and seeing new parts of the world. So going to a conference like that is a great way to get into an epicenter of people who are from all around the world who potentially wanted my personal brand in photography. And it's fun to go to California. So this was the second year that I was going, and I have to do like a really big sales push and ramp it up. Like everything in the business comes to a halt at home because I've got to make enough money and enough sales in advance to make this trip fully justified. And I worked and worked and worked. And then the night before, I was supposed to be packing my suitcase, and I was lying in bed. I thought, I'm feeling really rough here. Like, I've got a really sore throat. Anyway, I still went. I pushed myself through it, but I spent the whole week talking like Marge Simpson. I had hardly any voice. My tonsils swelled up so big that I was actually waking up choking in the middle of the night. So I ended up like on day 3 going to the pharmacy, and I was like, hello, I'm a British person. Like, just give me the hardest stuff you've got. I've got to do a conference. And this woman behind the counter, she was like, honey, you need to go and see a damn doctor. You're not well. So I then had to go and see this doctor, which is a total faff when you're in America. Cost me a fortune, and it turned out I had severe tonsillitis and laryngitis mixed together. So that trip, I came home from that trip and I had all of these photo shoots to edit and get ready, and I had to work through being ill. And then I took like a month off to just try and get my body back to square one again. And it was such a big wake-up call. I started getting these visions of, if I keep going with this one income stream into my business, I'm going to be like this little old lady who stooped over running around these conference centers. And sure, it'll be around the world, but do I really want that? Like, is that why I became an entrepreneur in the first place? No, it isn't. So it kind of gave me that wake up thing, right? Do something online. Now, a lot of photographers online go about doing slightly different things. Like they don't always follow the photography thing. So I was quite purist and perfectionist and creative about it. So over the last 2 years, to get to the point of this story, I started testing things out before I jumped in. So thankfully, when this lockdown happened, I had a few things that I had been like tinkering away with, so I could kind of pick them up and start running with them.
I think that's so important, actually. A lot of what you said there. Well, first of all, I love the story, and I love the fact that you went abroad and went to that conference, because I feel the same way about TED Women, which I went to last Christmas, December. It was amazing, and I just loved the whole vibe, and I learned so much. I was so inspired, and I can't wait to go back, but I would need to make sure I can justify the spend that went into it. So I guess my point being, well, my question is, did you find that useful for your business, going to an international event like that?
It was monumental. So the first year I went was 2017, and I didn't have a penny like in my business. I was hardly paying myself a wage, but I had this big goal, this big scary goal. And I hustled for about 3 months prior to the event. So all over Christmas time. And I managed to get enough sales in the bank to make sure that my trip there, and like I could eat when I was there and pay for my ticket and everything, all that was covered. But then when I was there, I instantly woke up to the fact that there was all these amazing people around, and I started booking jobs like for the next day. So I came back with quite a nice little chunk of money in my pocket. I was really thrilled. So when it came to 2018, I wanted to beat that. And that's why I think I started pushing myself too hard, and I pushed myself off the brink, quite literally. I went again. I went again in 2019, and I really took a step back. I wanted to try it. This, you know, when you're at these conferences, a lot of it is hard to justify on a spreadsheet. So I had noticed that I was out photographing people who I'd already had conversations with, but actually the most magic would have been me hanging around in the bar for an extra cocktail and randomly getting talking to someone. But it's really hard to justify that, isn't it, before you go? But that's when the magic really happens. So I kind of made a point last year when I was there to just hang back a little bit. I booked my schedule. I had about a third of my normal schedule, enough to make it all worthwhile. But then I was able to go to these dinners and hang out with people for coffee and randomly bump into people in the corridor. And that has made a big difference again. So it's one of those things where it's hard to justify, I think, the first time you go. But when you get into a cycle of doing an event like that, you can really make it work for you. So when you were saying before about doing TED Women, instantly I would be talking with the organizers and saying that you want to do a pop-up live podcast at the event, but then you can get introduced to the speakers of the event and have them on the show.
Exactly, and that was the idea, or the dream at the time. The interesting thing is, until recently, I haven't had the confidence to get any content or footage on my own, because I've always gone into a studio. It's always been really professional, with my fab producer Tim. And so having chats like this are great because you can save them down, you can, turn them into a blog, you can turn them into video, you can snip them up, you can make them as podcasts. So there's so much opportunity. And I think now that I've got more practice of doing stuff on my own, I've certainly, if I went back to TED Women, that would be my goal. I would be, getting the kits and chatting to people, because I did see a lot of journalists and podcasters doing just that. But I think you can have a lot of reach. And I think one of the things I'm fortunate with there is, as an organizer, a TEDx organizer, being able to actually go to some of the really exclusive private meetings for 2 days. That's only about 150 people before you have this wider conference of up to 1,200 women and men.
That's much more powerful, isn't it, in a small group like that?
Exactly. So yeah, I would absolutely do that next time. Now I have more confidence. But it's such an important point about confidence, isn't it? Because if you don't try, you don't learn. And I think sometimes we get these visibility blocks. I talk about this a lot with my clients, or with my people who helping podcasts, who are saying, well, who would listen to me? Why would anyone care what I have to say? Why does my story matter? Like, who would care? And we all have something that's so unique and interesting.
That's it.
Yeah. And
so true.
But we also have these stories we tell ourselves, and as I say, I call them visibility blocks. Some people call them money blocks, or all kinds of different words, mind monkeys, different terms for them. But have you ever had anything like that in your business?
Yeah, so I've struggled with anxiety and depression most of my adult life, and I am the best person at telling me how crap I am. For sure. Like it's one of those things where it's a thing that you just have to handle. And I do lots of different things in my daily life to make sure I keep that black dog at bay. But specifically thinking back to 2017, when I'd set this big scary goal to go to San Diego, I had decided to sell my services by sending people these video pictures. And I remember sitting in my office in my old house, like I had my reflector like this and I had my camera set up and just trying to say like, hi, I'm Laura Pearman, pleased to meet you. And then just thinking, what am I doing? I can't do this. I can't do this. And it was like pulling teeth. I felt so drained after doing it. Flash forward to now where I'm putting out a weekly episode on YouTube. It's such a big, like, I can't even believe that it took me so much effort to do, but it's that first step, isn't it? Where you really do doubt yourself. It's the scariest one and the toughest one to take. But once you've taken it, then you're in a momentum and then you're on the way.
You're so right. It's that committing to do it, isn't it? That's something I've noticed. So I've been buying courses for years now. I love courses and I love to learn stuff. Gosh, I bought every resource, Facebook swipe files, Instagram story tactics, and actually I've started doing them. I can't believe I left it so long. But I've been obsessing about there's just so much brilliant content there. And I'm thinking, wow, if I knew this stuff a year ago. But I think that comes back to what you're saying, it's having the courage to try things, but also the courage to test things,
Yes.
and I think testing is really important. Anyone working in marketing, or personal branding, or lots of people listening won't be doing marketing, or there's all kinds of different things people are interested in. But to try two different pieces of content, a different background, different color, different font. I've been doing these little videos recently, which, to be honest, they're not the best. They're just a quick thing I make on Ripple, which is an app you can get on the Apple Store. And it does the job, but I've been testing different types of content and testing different types of colors. And it's really interesting. So I had this visibility block about going on Facebook. I thought, well, what if people see me? What if my family watch? What if friends watch?
Yeah.
What if people think, oh, I'm too big for my boots, or whatever? But actually, so what?
Yeah, exactly. So what? It doesn't matter. And what everyone thinks about you is none of your business. That's something
Yeah.
that I often tell myself. If I get really triggered by something, I'm like, right, what they think or what they're saying is none of your business. It's all about them and the way that they're seeing the world. And you just happen to be on their radar. So
Yeah,
if that person from high school who you had a bit of beef with back in the 90s sees you on Facebook Live and they still have that beef, it's their problem, not yours.
but it's so true, and it's so
Yeah,
interesting though, these things we carry with us and how they block us. So I
yeah.
would love to know. So you mentioned you're still doing the gorgeous photos, and I know that when things are back to normal, you'll be taking stunning photos, and I can't wait to get a very vintagey headshot with you. But yeah, I wanted to ask, you're doing lots of stuff around confidence building now. So how are you delivering that? How has your business model changed? What kind of things do you go through when you talk about that?
So the first thing I noticed was that as much as I would look, I want to document like every entrepreneur in this time. That's my goal as a photographer. It's a crazy big goal, but I'd like to think that at my funeral, somebody's going to stand up and say, well, you can say a lot about Laura Pearman, but she really documented that time. That's all I want out of life, right? Professionally. So I've noticed that some people would come up to me, and this is over the last 8 years of me being a professional photographer. People will come up to me at networking events, like over that horrible coffee that's usually at networking events, and they'll be like, "Oh, you do amazing work, but there's no way in hell I would ever have a photo shoot with you." I'm like, okay, hi. Do you want to tell me about that? And whenever I started exploring it, it's because they have a confidence issue, or they had a really bad experience with another photographer, or they had a really bad experience having their school photo taken when they were 8 years old. Like these fears are completely irrational, but it's enough to stop somebody from even trying to think about talking to a photographer. And we all know that having wonderful headshots is really going to help your business. But for them, it was their mind chimp, or the thing that was stopping them from making progress. So a bit like what you said before, I started logging these things and just kind of smiling through it and asking questions, not like trying to sell or handle the what do you call it, the when people have an objection handling. None of that. I was just kind of logging it in my brain. And I thought there's a whole bunch of really good entrepreneurs out here who are so terrified of having their picture taken, they're preventing their business success. So how can I help them? Like, I can't just keep running up to them with a camera. It's going to terrify them. So what can I do to help these people? And that's where the whole confidence thing came from. Now, so I started dabbling with my own selfies, getting really like my heckles would get up if you say like a teenage girl doing the whole duck pout on Instagram, like, oh, that really does my head in. But it's like, hang on a minute, why does that do your head in? Why does that make me feel in the way that it makes me feel? So kind of logging all of these emotions over an elongated period of time. And that's where I came up with a free challenge. So I thought, if somebody's really crippled by fear, I don't want to make them pay for a course or make them pay for my time to help them get over their camera shyness. So here's a free challenge. And it's offline. offline if you want it to be offline. And over the 5 days, I give people lots of like 5 very different inspirational subjects to choose from. And that's a way to get over your fear. So you think, right, Laura wants me to do a photograph about X, Y, or Z. So that's what I've got to try and do in my picture. It's not, I'm holding the camera up and, oh, how do I look? You're kind of getting over your fear by distraction. And then in addition to that, over the 5 days, I'm teaching you 5 very different ways to use your camera phone to get very different photographic results. So it's kind of part technical, part emotional and fear-based. And we've had some good results from it. People have said like it really helps them get out of their head. It really helps to keep them accountable to just get on and do it. And we've had a few occasions where people have done the challenge, sat with it for a few months, and then they've come to me and said, right, I'm ready to do headshots now, let's do it. So it's kind of, it fits together with my one-to-one photography services, but that's not the wider goal. I just want people to feel better about themselves.
I think that's a really important point, and I love the idea of doing one part of your business that is your kind of money maker, your income generator, but then having another part that is just for fun. So similar for me, you know, Nurture Your Zest, and this podcast has never been something that I've monetized. It's always been, you know, I just love to chat, so why not chat? However, what I have found is that I get so many messages and questions saying, you know, how do you start a podcast? What equipment do you need? Should I go to a studio, or can I do it on my phone? Can I, you know, what tools do you launch it with? Where do you put it? How do you market it? You know, and so I thought, well, yeah, why not just see what else you can do? But I think as well, it's just nice to have fun with your business, have fun with what you're doing. So actually, on that note, before we went live, Laura and I were chatting about some really top secret, exciting stuff that we've got planned for when the world is back to normal. I can't wait for, and it's going to be a really lovely, fun way to bring great photography, fashion, tea, beautiful people together, yes. Lifestyle, yes. So I can't wait for that. We're going to have to think about our guest list, and yeah, hopefully that will be really, really fun. So yeah, it's nice to think there's so much going on. I think around Newcastle as well, because we're both living in Newcastle. So it's really nice to just think of just fun things that we can do. It's really nice. Yes. And Suki's joined us, which is great.
Oh, so hey, Suki.
So, and I think as well, when you collaborate, you feel inspired by the people that you work with as well. It's so nice. There's nothing better, I think, than just working with different people.
That's right. Yeah. It's like a double-edged sword though, collaboration. So I found in my years of doing different collaborations, as long as you're abundantly clear with who's doing what from the outset, you can't go wrong. But I've been in a lot of situations over the years where it hasn't worked out how it was supposed to be, and it's disappointing.
That's a really important point, because this morning in the Mint business training that I was doing, we were talking about the importance of protecting your brand. And so I'd love to talk to you about that, Laura. You know, do you find that it's hard for people to kind of think about how they should put themselves out there? You know, you get all this courage to put your headshots out there and get yourself seen. But then if you constantly collaborating with the wrong people, referring people who aren't going to turn up or who are not going to do the work, I mean, that can damage your brand as well, right?
Yes, for sure. So this has a few little different elements to it. Let's see if I can remember them. So the first one I wanted to say is absolutely protecting your personal brand. You need to do that for yourself in the first instance. So one of the things I do with a lot of my clients, could be selfie people or photography people, it doesn't really matter. When you're trying to build a really good, authentic personal brand, you pick 5 themes and that's it. So there are a lot of subjects. We had a little natter about this before we went live. There's a lot of subjects that I am not prepared to share with the world. And that doesn't make me inauthentic. It just means that I'm not prepared to talk about it. So I'm not really happy talking about religion. I'm very careful about politics. I will not get into a sports debate, not even on my personal Facebook page. It's just off the limits. And the Viking Tom is very private, so I don't really talk about my relationship at all anywhere online. But when you come up with the things you're not comfortable with, then you've got to find the things that you are comfortable with. So I have my 5 themes: cocktails, Suki the cat, who you saw just before we went live. She jumped behind me like Wonder Woman. Cocktails, Suki the cat, being addicted to traveling, which we've already covered today, living a vintage life, and what's my 5th one? And feminism, so like girl power. So those are the 5 storylines that you can find in every single piece of content I share when I go personal. And I'm happy to talk about those 5 things in a lot of detail, a lot of depth. And they're real. They're really about me. It's about my real life and who I am as Laura Pearman. So I say to people, when we're trying to plan out what their personal brand should be about, some people come to me and they're like, well, I feel a little bit uncomfortable about maybe sharing my kids, or I don't really want to put this online. That's fine. But if you can think of the 5 things that you're happy with, then you are ultimately protecting the stuff that you're uncomfortable about sharing online. And when you come across really deep and really authentic on those 5 things, people will feel like they know you in a personal way. And that's the overall goal, isn't it, of having a personal brand. So building on that then, I think I've remembered all my points. Building on that then, when you have your 5 key themes and you are really authentic and genuine about them, you will naturally attract people to you who resonate with those things. There will be people who maybe they're anti-cat. Maybe they really don't get the whole vintage thing. Maybe they really don't like cocktails. Well, I'm willing to bet that people who fit into those categories, we're not really going to have the magic sparkles together when I'm on a photo shoot with them, because fundamentally as human beings, we're just not intrinsically connected. And that's fine. That's totally fine. You need to go and find another photographer who fulfills the things that you stand for, your 5 things. So I think when you're good with your 5 themes, you're naturally going to attract the right people to you. And then there's that thing with the collaborations. When those people have come through that little filter or that funnel or whatever you want to call it, and you are genuinely the right people for each other, you have to enter into a collaboration with a mutual respect and a very clear plan for who's getting what out of an arrangement. But then you want to have fun with it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's some brilliant advice you just shared. Thank you so much, Laura. I know we've had a question from Suki, which was, how long have you been a photographer for? So you've been running your business for a long time. You've gone all over the world. You've photographed some brilliant people, but how long have you actually been doing it?
So I got into photography later in life. So technically, if you include my student photographer days, and I'll go into that in a minute, I've been a photographer for 12 years. I've really been graduated and in the industry for 10 years. But because I got into photography later in life, I mean like in my mid-20s, I still felt like the grandma in the class though, because everyone else was a young whippersnapper. But I hustled so hard when I was a student photographer. Like I was, 2 weeks into the degree and I was banging on the lecturer's door every morning saying, have you got any assistant jobs for me? Have you got any assistant jobs for me? So that by the time I came out of my degree, I had a really interesting CV and I could get a job. So then I worked for 2 years. I did assistance work for a studio. I did a couple of different internships and a few one-off assistant gigs before I decided to go for it myself.
That's a really important point, and I think it's something I'd love to talk about, especially because I see that Debbie's listening with us. So I work with lots of brilliant creatives, brilliant artists, dancers, fabulous people. But one thing that I see all the time, and I'm sure this will happen to you or will have happened in the past, happens to me all the time, is, will you do this for exposure?
Don't even get me started. Yeah, I fell for that in a big way when I first got out. So prior to being a photographer, I worked briefly in marketing and public relations. You should know that about me. So I'm all about like the PR opportunity, how to capitalize on that. And people would come to me and say, oh, this is a great one for your portfolio, or this is great for exposure. And I would do it, but like, yeah, well, it makes sense. I need to get my business out there. I'll just do it. flash forward a couple of weeks and I'm in the studio till 4 a.m. retouching pictures while they're at home in bed waiting for great free pictures. There's a thing, isn't there, about being a creative? I think it makes you extra sparkly to people, and when they don't think that they can do that in the way that you can. Some people want to take it, whereas other people want to lift it up, and you have to be very careful about who you pick.
It's a really important tip, I think, especially for those who, like you said, you were an early photographer, but you did hustle, you made those contacts, you chatted to people, you worked really hard to secure those relationships. But I do think as well, you're right, you have to judge things carefully. Who are you going to be talking to? And also, something I've noticed is, the coffee meetings. So I now, especially now we've been doing the lockdown, it's been great because I'll say to people, look, I have 4 hours free on a Friday where I'm doing free day, which Michael Owen started, and it's been brilliant. I've chatted to some amazing people, got some clients from it, and actually I've got some brilliant testimonials. So it's been wonderful. But that's my time, 4 hours on a Friday. There's slots in Calendly, they can book it, and if they're gone, they're gone, and that's it.
That's the same with me. So I have some pals who did that, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I did it. If you ever use Toggle, where you toggle your time, you're actually clocking. It's like being a lawyer where you clock every single minute of your time. And I noticed just how much time I was wasting driving into town to go to the coffee meeting, to have the coffee meeting, not really come up with any actions, and then drive home and pay for parking. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I've got a similar setup. We have the cyber cocktails, and that's on a Tuesday afternoon, and they're half-hour long as well. I've read a thing, I can't even remember where it was, but you can get all of the points that you need to actually get to done within 15 minutes. So really 15 minutes for a little quick natter and a bit of a catch up is enough. You don't need a full hour. And it sounds a bit cutthroat, doesn't it? I think when you first start contemplating it, but actually it really does make a difference. And every minute counts, I think, when you're an entrepreneur.
It's just about confidence, it's having the confidence to say my time is important. So and putting boundaries out there, that takes huge courage, but also to respect other people's time. They've got things they need to get on with. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I think unless you're doing a really in-depth project where you need that time, it's really good to say, actually, right, we've got 30 minutes, let's just get to it. Yeah. That's great. I want to talk to you very quickly about selfies that make you cringe. So I'll tell you some of mine. Okay. Not necessarily selfies, but say LinkedIn, which is one of the biggest kind of areas you take photographs for. So often Facebook, you can be a bit more relaxed, you can take them on your phone, that kind of thing. But I find it very awkward when people have pictures of their wedding or things like that on LinkedIn, on their professional profiles. Is there anything else that makes you feel so creeped out?
I often refer to like the sunburnt selfie with like a big Del Boy cocktail, and there's this bloke in his swimming trunks, which is completely appropriate in Benidorm or wherever he went on a holiday, but I don't want to see him like that on LinkedIn. So it's a funny one, isn't it? I think I have a pyramid slide that I should have brought along tonight, but it's basically a pyramid, and it shows you your headshot goes at the top of the pyramid, and that's what you want to put on all of your profiles. And I also am a big believer in having every single one of your profile pictures on every single channel matching. And the reason you have that is for the other people who are just meeting you. You want it to make it as easy as possible to be the Laura Pearman that they're looking for. So having the same photo, it's easy for them to quickly connect on the socials that they use. But underneath the pyramid, to get back to my original point, I have like 200 selfies of me that I've probably shared mainly on Instagram. But the point is, that's in the feed, that's in the content. So it's fine to put selfies on LinkedIn if you're hanging out, having coffee. If we were having coffee, I'd want to do a little coffee selfie with you and put that out. Or if I've just had a really great bit of news, I might be sitting like going, yeah, that's amazing. And I want that to go in the feed. But the casual selfie stuff should be in the feed, and the headshot should be in the profile.
Yeah, I like that, and I love it. You can send your pyramid thing if you'd like to.
Oh,
If
I'll see if
Google
I can
can
have a
see it.
little hunt around for it while we're talking.
I think, thank you. I think it's so interesting what you said there. You know, I've got different photos on different channels, and I
Oh,
think,
I need to get that fixed.
yeah, well, have to, and that's such good tips. So yeah, I've never thought of that. That's a really useful one, and that's why sharing and learning is so helpful.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. But it's one of those things where you think, like, I've had people before, clients who've come in and said, well, I want to be a bit more professional on LinkedIn and I'll be a bit more casual on Facebook. But actually, that's about you. It's not about the people who you're trying to connect with. So it's about taking that whole thing, which is a common marketing theory, isn't it? It's about them and not you, even in personal branding.
It's very true. Yes. It's funny, actually. We've been chatting tonight. We've had a marriage proposal earlier, but you won't have seen it. But I did turn it down. I deleted the comment. So we had a gent in
Oh,
India wanting to
right.
marry us, which was
Was
interesting. I
that
haven't
both
had
of
that.
us?
Well, it just said hit that general marriage proposal. So that's very
Oh,
interesting. I've
okay.
not
Well, then
seen
there you
that
go.
before. So I'm very new to live and it's all very scary. But marriage proposals is not something we're both, well, I'm already married.
Yeah, I ain't interested, mate. You're gonna have to do better than that.
I'm curious, you mentioned, I know you don't want to talk about your partner, so we won't, but you did call him the Viking. So is
Yeah,
he an
I call him
actual Viking?
well, I like to think he is. He's got a big blonde beard and he's quite grumpy sometimes, so I like to just refer to him as the Viking.
I love that. That's brilliant. We've had another question from Suki. So thank you so much, Suki, for your engagement. Yeah, what makes a professional look? So clothing, hair, makeup. What do you think?
I think the answer is all of it, but done in the right way. So if you're somebody who is, say you're uber natural and you're like a surf chick, we were talking about surfer dudes before. So say you're a surfer chick and your look is like a sun-kissed look, you have really salty hair all the time, then I would be telling a hair and makeup artist to make that a polished version of the real you. We don't want to see you in like this flawless big thick cake of foundation and a big red lip, because that's not authentic to you. But we can spruce it up a little bit with a bit of bronzer, maybe a little bit more of a texturized or planned out hairdo, and then the right clothing as well to match. So the thing with personal branding photography in particular is I am very reliant on working with really good suppliers. So I need to have suppliers who understand my creative, and I give them, like, we have meetings before we do a photo shoot, but it's really important that they understand exactly what we're trying to achieve. So the makeup artist has a specific objective, hair person, stylist, and then it all comes together in the right way. And I think a lot of people, there was that whole trend, like early noughties, late 90s, where you go into these studio experiences and just some random makeup artist who doesn't know you would fill your face with way too much makeup. And it can be a problem because you come out looking like this weird porcelain doll. And who has that look anyway? I mean, it's just unnatural. So a professional look is an authentic look, but an authentic look that's a little bit polished, Suki. That's my short, sweet answer.
That's such a great tip. And I love as well, thinking from a feminist perspective. So I love that you can be, made up, which I am today, but I'm not always. And I love to be makeup free as well. But I love that, personal branding is all about who you are and what you want to share. So as you said, you've got 5 words, 5 things that you'll talk about. I've got 5 words that are kind of my mission for life. So it's my podcast words. So, courage, curiosity, creativity, inspiration, and zest. Those are the words that light me up. So, like, I think that almost the same with your clothing or your personal brand. What do you want to be known for? So, and it's just nice to have fun and play with it sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why I'm in the whole, I mean, I'm not all vintaged up today, but that's why I love the vintage vibe, because it's so much fun. It is just really fun, and that old glamour really appeals to me as well. So that's why that's part of who I am. I think even if I wasn't trying to put out a public version of myself, I'd still be like, you'd see me in Tesco's shuffling around in some big old dress. It's just who I am.
It's my favorite as well. I'm such a fan of vintage, of burlesque, of anything, you know, beautiful and feathers and just, I think,
Opulence.
opulence. I'm a huge fan of F. Scott Fitzgerald. I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
you know, I know his writing was very much glamorizing the 20s, but also very critical in some ways. Actually, when you look back at some of his writing, he did talk a lot about a lot of societal issues that maybe weren't really talked about at the time, like racism or, you know, feminism or like the way that we speak to our servants or all sorts of themes came through that. So yes, I love a bit of opulence, love F. Scott Fitzgerald and Oscar Wilde, and oh, favorite.
Yeah. I'm a real sucker for have you seen Grey Gardens? I'm obsessed with that documentary at the minute. You ever watch Grey Gardens?
No, I haven't.
That
Grey
is your
Garden.
homework, right? I want you to go away. If you have seen it and you're on the live, chime in. It's about these the mother and daughter, and they live up in the Hamptons, and they're in this dilapidated old mansion, and this like it's overrun with raccoons, but because they're high society women, they've got no practical sense between them, so they're just like living it up in this squalor. It's horrendous, but it's just so amazing. Like the young daughter is like she's singing and dancing because she's talking about a debutante ball and all these men she could have married. It's so fascinating. Stuff like that about human nature is what lights me up. I love watching random things about weird human behavior.
Are you into crime then? Not into doing
Yeah.
it, but watching it? Yes.
Yeah, I love anything crime related, anything a bit sick. Like I got really into learning more about psychopaths a couple of years ago, and it put me on a bit of a downer, unsurprisingly. So I stopped doing it, but I got really into trying to understand how is a psychopath. Like I can't believe we're talking about this, but a sociopath, they say, is created like from nurture. So if you have a child who's in, you know, like a gangster family, they become a sociopath. But a psychopath, they think that psychopaths are created in the womb. Like there's no explanation. I was like, how is there no explanation? How do we not know? I just started like going round and round and learning about all these psychopaths. Maybe it's a photo collection later on in my life.
Maybe. I've always found psychopathy, if I can say it there, fascinating because some of the traits are some of the traits of the best business people out there. You know, the ability to just throw yourself and do things, being charming or glib or superficial, or you know, that whole chameleon mirroring behavior. So there's so much with it. I've been fascinated as well, and I think it's interesting to keep looking and reading and just learning, being curious about whatever it is. Now,
Yeah.
I'm mindful of the time because we've got important things happening at 8 p.m. So I want to say Suki's made a suggestion about a live competition to win a session with you, Laura, which is so funny because I know that you've got something that you did want to tell people. So that might not be it, but you did want to share something. So would you like to do that now?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing, I would love to see people come and check out my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel is called Mwah TV, as in Mwah TV. So we can put a link to that in the comments below. But come and take a look at that. It's full of lots of free advice. I'm doing a lot of focus right now on the show about living in quarantine. I've done a collaboration with some photographers around the world. We're calling it #CreativeContagion. And I'm actually looking for other creatives to come and collaborate on that. So come and take a look. And if it's up your alley, then get in touch with me and we can get you on the show as well. I really wanted to kind of do my bit to shine the spotlight on other creatives who have been in the same boat as me and have lost all their work, but they still need to make a living. So that's what that's about. But then when it comes back to the selfies thing, you can come and take part in the free 5-day Love Your Selfie challenge. And that's just a really, like, you could be doing it right now with your kids during lockdown. It's one of those things where you can actually learn a practical skill, get more out of your camera phone, and start bringing more of yourself on social media without working with a professional photographer like me yet. So it's one of those things where I kind of want to get you into poses training and build up your confidence so that when we can shoot, you know where I am.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. So can you tell us, so you've told us about Mwah TV and YouTube, and I can't post our earlier links, so I'll do that post our call. But I would love to know, where can people find you online? Where do you like to hang out? Where should they go and look out for you more?
So I'm everywhere online. I'm omnipresent. I'm Pearman Photos. But if you want to find me in real life, in real time, I'm going to be on Instagram. I'm going to be faffing on with my stories. I do lots of silly, like, dancing stories, and I've got like a sing-along thing that I do. Like, we just have fun on Instagram. So if you want to get a quick personal connection, come find me there. But otherwise, you can find me everywhere under Pearman Photos.
Perfect. And quick question, since TikTok is on the rise, are you using TikTok?
I don't know. I tried to get into Snapchat when Snapchat got big a few years ago, but I got sick of it. And then all of the properties of Snapchat were brought on Instagram anyway. So I thought, no, I'm sacking this off. I'm not putting the work in. I have enjoyed watching some TikToks, and I've been trying to use the app to do some different types of video editing. Like, you can do video editing in there and not post it on TikTok, just have it as a video editor. But so far, I haven't got very far with it. I found it a little bit limiting, but I am enjoying seeing some TikTok. So one of them that I absolutely love, my sister sent this to me and she's out in the States, is toddlers on scooters, like posing with their leg up. Have you seen this? It's like an international phenomenon. I'll have to send you a link, but there's this thing where all these toddlers, like, obviously they're not hanging out with each other because we're all in lockdown, but they're on scooters, and as they're scooting, instead of just holding their leg up gently, they're like holding their leg right up behind them and like posing out. It's amazing. So crazy.
So do you mean like a foot pop?
Hang on, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you if I'm too cabled up here. I'm too cabled up. I can't do it.
That's
so
they're
scooting along, and then you know how you put one leg up, or you'd rest your back leg on your back wheel. They're like bending the leg right up, so their leg's coming up behind them, and they're like just posing on a scooter.
Oh, how cute! It's like a foot pop in a movie. I love that in romantic movies when they finally have that kiss. On that note, we're running out of time. I want to make sure people can go do what they need to. So can I just ask, what is your favorite number one word to nurture your zest?
I think I'm going to have to go with the word beautiful, or beautifuls. So I call all of my clients, all of my selfie clients, all of the people on my subscription list, the beautifuls. And it's all about embracing your true, authentic beauty. Like just what we were talking about today, your 5 themes make you beautiful for you. So beautiful is definitely my word.
Well, it's one we've never had before, so thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that sense of celebrating who we are and our uniqueness. So thank you very much. I'm going to say goodbye. Okay. Lovely to have you on the show. Thank you.
Mwah.
Mwah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I'm Ashleigh King. If you haven't watched before, this is Nurture Your Zest, and it's a podcast all about overcoming adversity, about curiosity, creativity, courage, inspiration, and zest. So I hope you've enjoyed it. We have a Facebook Live every Tuesday and every Thursday at 7 o'clock, and it was great to chat with you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you. Bye.
You've been listening to Nurture Your Zest. You can find us online on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and LinkedIn at Nurture Your Zest. If you've liked today, please subscribe. You can also leave us a review if you're feeling extra kind. Today's podcast has been made available through the kind sponsorship of TL Multimedia and That Branding Company. We look forward to catching up with you again soon as you learn to nurture your zest.